We're back. We're back.
We back. You want to know what's crazy about this episode?
What is it?
This is episode 30.
30, flirty, and thriving, as they say.
Almost as old as we are.
You remember that movie? 13 going on 30?
Hey, never saw it.
You never saw that movie?
Nope.
Man, it was a
never saw
classic when we were younger. It was about a 13-year-old who turned
Probably
into a
because
30-year-old.
I wasn't a girl. I don't know.
I had 3 sisters, so you can't judge me.
Fair.
Yes.
I cannot.
13 going on 30 was actually a great movie, though. Not going to lie.
Wasn't that the principle where it's, the young girl, but then she wakes up and she's 30 years old, like overnight or something?
Yeah, and they just completely mischaracterize how 30 is. It just doesn't fit. I'm not going to lie. I am not. I'm flirty. I'm 30. I'm flirty. Am I thriving? I don't know. I mean, that's. I wouldn't say so. I mean, I'm not doing bad. I'm doing great. I don't want to talk negatively, but life is not painted the same way as they painted 30. In that you're more of like, oh crap, I haven't done what I said I was going to do about something, and I'm 30. Dude, we're about to be 32. Next month, Chase and I are 32. But either way, back to, went off on a tangent immediately. Hey guys, we're back. We're back for episode number 30.
Number 30.
Yep.
Who would have thought? I'm
How
pretty
long
sure
ago?
we've made that joke every time we've hit like a pivotal moment. It's like episode 10. Who would have thought? Episode
Right.
15 and 20. Who would have thought? And we're just going to keep going. Once we hit episode 100, we're still going to be saying that.
If you don't like it, just
kinda get used to
complain
it.
and we'll consider that engagement. So we'll appreciate it no matter what.
Yes, absolutely.
But
We
when
love
did we
feedback.
start, man?
But we started August of 2024.
Wow. Man, time flies when you're having a good time. But what were you going to say?
No, that was pretty much it. I was going to say we've almost hit 2 more months and we will be at a full year of having this podcast.
Man, I am ready to give in.
We're basically what he's trying to say is we have a lot of buyers lined up to purchase what we've established so far. And we're basically debating if we want to sell the rights of Thoughtify to everyone that is lined up getting ready to pay top dollar.
That's another joke we make too much. We're going to come up with some new material. We swear we will.
There's something about consistency, though, you know?
If you shoot enough times in the dark...
never change.
What? No. If you shoot enough times in the dark, you'll eventually hit a target.
Yes.
Kind of lines up.
It's only a matter of time. Just like the Cowboys winning a Super Bowl, it's only a matter of time before it actually happens.
Kind of like evolution
Probability
takes millions
states.
of years.
I'm not thinking in millions. I'm hopefully in the near term. We're trying to remain positive.
How does that compare to other teams that are on Super Bowl not winning streaks?
We're at the pretty much. I want to say we're at the bottom 5.
And so
we're among the 5 bottom teams that have not won a Super Bowl, if at all, in their franchise history, or it's been just that long.
Mm-hmm. Man,
let's find out for sure.
Yeah, man, I am not. We do live in DFW, but gosh, I'm not beholden to the Dallas Cowboys. Do I like them? And will I cheer when they win? 100%. But I guess there's not really any team I'm beholden to. I really don't get upset when any football team loses. I'm just like, they've got millions of dollars to fall back on. They'll be okay. You're like, dang it, we lost that competitive game
NFL
that we get paid ridiculous amounts of money to play. It's like, I think you're probably going to still have a pretty good Saturday.
Were we talking about that? I can't remember. It's like jokingly being a Cowboys fan, right? You watch disappointment, you watch heartbreak, you watch some of the mountaintops, some good games, some bad games. But when you make it to playoffs and you lose, It's like the dichotomy of, oh, at least they have $50 million, that they could go back to and just go on a sick vacation or chill or do whatever. And meanwhile, the true people that have to bear the brunt and the
Mm,
pure disappointment of not having your team do well is the fan. And we don't have $50 million to go back to. So we actually have the harder job, and we have to carry more weight than the actual players do.
I think we deserve a cut of the pay.
We do. Oh, let's see.
Time to reach out to JJ.
Okay, well, looks like so the teams that have had the longest drought, that's insane. Arizona Cardinals, 77 years. The Detroit Lions, 66 years. Cleveland Browns, 56 seasons. New York Jets, 54. Buffalo Bills, 58. Cincinnati Bengals, 56.
Oh, man.
So
what are the Dallas
I do
Cowboys
take that
at?
back.
Probably 30. Well, I mean, it was 1995 or 7 was the last one.
95.
Yeah.
So it's been 30 years.
Oh, man.
So it's been a while.
Wait, hold on.
But not as long as the Arizona Cardinals. It's 77 years.
Yep, it's been 30 years. Wow. If you had a baby in 1995, they'd be turning 30 this year. And we're turning 32.
Not us.
Not us.
We beat it by 2 years.
Oh my gosh, dude. My friend. Oh, it's so funny. So like he's 42. It's my buddy that lives up in Oregon that we talk about all the time. So it's his brother. And they've always like he's literally always been just like trying to be as young as he possibly can, no matter how old he gets. And he recently had gotten himself into he's 42. He was dating a 23-year-old stripper, and he broke up with the girl, and she like went with some other guys, and they trashed his house while he was out of town and all this stuff. So he called his brother and was like, "Hey, I want to come crash with you in Oregon." And his life is going great. And he's like, "Dude, I can't have you bringing that nonsense up here. Absolutely not." And then on the phone, and they hadn't, keep in mind, they hadn't talked for like 3 years at this point, or longer than that, I think. So on the phone, they're like catching up, and he's like, "Yeah, man, it's crazy. I'm starting my life over at 39. And he's like, "Dude, you realize I know how old you are. You're 7 years older than me. You're 42. And he's like, and he's like, "My own brother was trying to lie about his age to me. That's how dumb he is." Oh man,
the one person who would know.
Yeah, he's like, and he was like, "Oh, I guess I've just been lying about it so long that I believe it now." And it's just hilarious to think like,
it's
my like,
gosh,
just think going to your brother and lying to him about your age, and then just being like, "What are you talking about, dude? I know when you were born."
That should be a movie plot.
Right? What? Lying about your age? I think that's a part of a lot of movie plots.
No, like the whole ideology of the guy who's getting into his 40s who refuses to get older. Man, and he just stays perpetually like 29 or 35. And he starts telling everyone like, "Oh yeah, I'm this age," but then he actually starts to believe it. That'd be funny.
And then he like shifts into an alternate reality where he's that age, but it causes the world to go into kind of like an apocalyptic state. And then he has to survive and eventually, do some really horrible things to do so.
Yes. And then he eventually develops Skynet, and that's how Terminator comes along.
And that is the prequel to Terminator. You know that the lady who created Terminator also created The Matrix, I believe. And it's a black woman. And she said the Matrix is the Terminator is the prequel to The Matrix. Because Terminator is where the singularity happened in terms of, and she also modeled it all after Jesus. It models the story of Jesus, all the and that's an absolutely true fact. Even the guy who plays Morpheus talks about it. Morpheus is modeled after John, Jesus's brother, and then all the people that are his team are the 12 disciples, and Neo is
James,
the chosen. Yeah. Huh? Or no, it's I got
James. James
James
is
is his brother.
Jesus' brother.
Oh, well, John is his cousin, right?
Are you talking John the Baptist?
Yes.
Then yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know if you're talking like disciple John or John the Baptist.
hmm, one of them. But long story short, or I'll make it long. I don't care. It's the prequel in regards to that is essentially like um Satan taking over the world. The robots win, they subjugate humans, and then there's a prophecy of a chosen one after humans have been subjugated for, thousands of years that is going to come and free them, and that is Jesus, the representative Jesus who is Neo, and the Matrix is thousands of years in the future past the Terminator.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I did not know that.
You heard it here first. Don't fact check it.
Heard it here first. Don't fact check it. Something that's slightly futuristic, my mind went to Star Wars. When we're talking crazy thousands of years into the future and technology and things like that. Partially to, and we can talk about this little segment, Star Wars Battlefront 2. I'll get to that in a second. But I was playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 before we hopped on to record episode 30.
Really?
Battlefront 2 came out 2017, audience. That game within the last couple weeks has had a massive resurgence where they are averaging more players 8 years later, over twice as many players, I believe, on a daily basis than they did when the game actually came out.
Man, what if they were working on
So
something
eight
behind the
years later, they're
scenes?
averaging like 10,000. Well, and here's the interesting thing. So they're like averaging 10,000 players a day now, which is insane for that game. So the developers, back in 2020, basically cut the game off of life support. Totally could have done way more, but
Oh
they
yeah.
didn't. And it's kind of been dead, not really. Started to come back to life, really came back to life. The developers of the OG team, their attention has been grabbed, and they have been publicly posting saying, we would love to get the team back together for Battlefront 3. So this sudden resurgence of Battlefront 2 could potentially lead to Battlefront 3 because since they stopped supporting Battlefront 2, there was nothing, zero about creating Battlefront 3. So because players took it into their own hands and they're like, we want it, you better make it, there's actual full steam behind the actual movement of getting this game created, which is
And for
kind
the,
of sick. But real quick, all that to say,
hold on. For those
okay,
that
go
don't
ahead,
know,
because this is going to be a different
Battlefront
tangent.
is a Star Wars game where you can play as regular soldiers who are like the droids or the clones, and then different levels of those soldiers. And then if you get enough points in the battles, you can play as the Jedis and whatnot. So it's a big open battlefield where there's like 50 on 50 people, and you're just trying to capture certain points and whatnot. And just in terms of being able to pick up a game and have a consistent, fun time and competitive time, and have a diverse time due to the amounts of levels. If you're into gaming, it's just it's a good game. It's a solid game, and like Chase said, even freaking so many years later, it's having a resurgence and that really in terms of games in general, that kind of stuff doesn't happen.
No, very, very rare. So I think, and this just goes to show from what we've talked about before, I get it. Game studios want to get out of their comfort zone, create new types of not genres, but new games, things like that. Like, I respect that. I appreciate that. I welcome that. But there is something to be said about a classic nostalgic game that I don't care who you are. If you play on Xbox, if you play on PlayStation, you know what Star Wars is, and odds are, I guarantee over 90%. Okay, I'll give it 80%. I'll be generous. Over 80% of gamers have at least in some point in their gaming career have played a Star Wars Battlefront game. And they enjoy it. And with this much momentum behind Battlefront 2 now, how could you not start developing Battlefront 3? That would be the biggest like slap in the face video game wise. Like, players want it, for a fact I mean, your fan base would grow even more if you released Battlefront 3. So if you don't do it, I'm calling out the developers. You better make the freaking game or else we'll find you.
And by gaming career, we mean the time that you spend as an adult procrastinating other things you should be doing and playing video games. That's
Well, and
mostly
two,
what we
going
mean.
back to like 7 years old. I was playing like the original Battlefront games when I was like 8.
We both were because we were
No, you
cool.
weren't.
Yeah, I was.
Just kidding.
You
But it
don't
was
even
great.
know me.
So it just like Halo, it kind of spans our entire growing up and now adult life, at least for me.
Yeah.
I mean, Halo Combat Evolved came out in 2001. Dude, next year will be the 25th anniversary, by the way, of Halo.
Wow.
That's insane.
We've got
But
more
real quick,
episodes than Halo is old.
that's insane.
Hey, that's what
Love
you
it.
get when you work hard. Halo needs to work harder.
We're working hard, but we're not playing hard. Playing hard comes later.
Yeah, we're going to try. What were you going to say?
But when I was talking about Star Wars, my mind went to the Death Star when we were talking Terminator, futuristic stuff. There was a post that I saw that came out May 23rd that evidently the US fired off the world's most powerful laser that is 100 times the power of global electricity use. I was
Yeah.
thinking, geez, we're in the process of creating a Death Star. that's that's crazy. But it's called, so they're calling it's pretty dope, the Zeus laser. At the University of Michigan has achieved a US record by producing a 2 petawatt laser pulse, 100 times stronger than the world's total electricity consumption, though it only lasted 25 quintillionths of a second. Think about that. That is less than a blink of an eye. But
that's
it's
the.
evidently. Go ahead.
No, I mean, that's actually like very close to the amount of time. Did I talk to you about this? So we had, in terms of quantum entanglement, the one particle or one electron spinning one way, or not one electron, one.
Yeah, electron.
Yeah, it is electron spinning one way, the other spinning the other way at the exact same time. They've been able to transfer. How do I? This is a. I don't want to say this wrong. Essentially, transfer energy by changing the energy in one, and it causes a change in the other one. And in terms of that going, they measured how long that takes because it appears instantaneous, but it was, I think, something similar to it. Well, the measurement was quintillionth of a second as well. So I just thought that was kind of unique, but I don't want to get into the entire thing right now, but I will real quick. There's a difference in terms of, because what they're saying is if it's an actual instantaneous transfer in terms of energy or whatever is being transferred in between the electrons, or the energy state of the electron, if it was instantaneous, it would break the laws of physics, and that wouldn't make sense. But it respects the laws of physics. It still is instantaneous. What we're actually measuring is how long it takes the perception of the data to show up on the other side versus the data not already being there, because there's a small bit of time in terms of something coming into existence that it then takes to, for you to the onlooker, or for it to be manifested in a way it can be perceived, but it doesn't change that, the data wasn't. So it's a weird phenomenon of it's respecting and almost breaking the laws of physics at the same time. And I'm doing probably not a great job of explaining it, but you just got me on that tangent when you said quintillionth of a second, because they said that's how long it takes. And they said it wrong because it was in the post, and they said it takes so many quintillionths of a second for the one electron to tell like the other one to move, which would say that it's not instantaneous, which is just categorically not true. So I had to clear that up.
Yeah, man, and it's I don't know. It just, again, it goes to show how much we're starting to scratch the surface of some pretty crazy stuff.
Oh, dude, you want to
And
hear something insane?
what's that?
So I don't know why I didn't tell you this about this either. Maybe I was just saving it for the podcast. But the Casimir effect is when something's in a vacuum, it's immediately attracted to whatever the other object is. And they found a way to reverse on a quantum level the Casimir effect. So instead of and the reason that it happens is because of quantum fluctuations. And that's why in a vacuum, things come close together. And it essentially reversed the quantum fluctuations to not allow them to come together and essentially levitate on a quantum level. And the practical applications could be like a skin of a material that nothing could actually touch. Like you couldn't actually get anything on it because on a quantum level, like legitimately, it would reverse the Casimir effect in a vacuum, like in space, and nothing could it would be never able to actually touch it.
Interesting.
And it's just like it was one of the coolest things I've seen. So it like in terms of also materials here that that we could use and apply to certain things, and they called it quantum levitation is what they called it because it's essentially levitating off of the other one in terms of creating a force that it can't go past and is pushing versus
Huh.
sucking in.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And that's a fairly new theory or thought that's been talked about.
No, they did it.
Oh, they did do it.
Yeah. No, they did it.
Wow.
So I was listening to that or something about that, or I was talking to my chat bot and asking it questions about it last week as I was driving down to my mom's place.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, on the note of kind of the whole quantum mechanics, quantum physics, alternate realities and timelines, did you hear? I can't remember if we've talked about this before, but I can't remember where I was listening to it on. But there was, so back when the Large Hadron Collider, and we did everything that we did with that. Well, there was a supposed kid
Yep.
named Max Laughlin. So you've heard about this,
Mm-hmm.
that believes our reality and our world actually got destroyed when we did that experiment or performed that act. And that instead of going on with our continuation of our reality, we actually merged with an entirely different reality. And hence, that's why the Mandela effect became such a prominent thing, especially around, what was that, like 2008, 2012 ish? Or that's really when it started to take effect. That us remembering or recalling instances of the past that weren't actually how we remembered it, that was a potential reasoning that we morphed into an alternate timeline.
Well, no, and he said the reason that it would have happened is because we created a super dense atom, something that has more natural mass than actual atoms in this universe. So, if you think of what mass actually is, mass is the drag created by some field that is pulling on atoms that allows them to be registered as mass. That's what the Higgs boson particle proved, or what some people call the God particle. We've talked about this before. So if you created something that had
Yeah.
more natural mass than it was supposed to in terms of affecting that field a different way, it would then drag that entire universe through to a different parallel universe. So it essentially makes it too heavy and it collapses into another one and merges with it. So that's what that kid had thought had happened. And I'm not going to lie, man, some of the things that are in conversation with the Mandela effect, my gosh, there's some of them, I think there's some of them that are, like the one that I remember my youngest sister, she was the one who brought this up to us first, the Mandela effect, not us, but like me in particular, or was like talking about it. I think I'd heard about it, but she she was younger at the time, just like went deep into it, probably down a YouTube video. And she was talking about how like everyone remembers Luke, I am your father. And it's like, that's not a line in the movie.
Yep. It's I am your father. Or no, I am your father.
I don't even think he says, I am your father.
You're messing with me.
Hold on.
Because.
Who's going to find it first?
Yeah, it's no, I am your father. You should watch Star Wars more.
You shouldn't tell me what to do so much. I'm getting sick of it.
You should listen.
Maybe he says, Luke,
You silly goose.
I'm actually your stepdad. I'm marrying your mom, and we're going to be happy.
Oh my gosh. We morphed into an alternate timeline.
Luke, I love you, buddy.
Turns
I'm gonna
out
take
Vader's
care of
not
ya.
my dad. He's my
He's my what?
He's my uncle. He's my
Luke?
uncle.
Luke, I'm actually your dad's brother. Your dad is an alcoholic, and he's in rehab. I'm gonna take care of you, though.
Yes.
I love you.
I stole his armor, and I'm currently dressed up in his armor and stole his laser sword.
Let me see. Let's find some more examples. Hold on.
Oh, mirror, mirror on the wall. That's
Who's the
another
fairest of them all?
significant Mandela effect.
Famous.
Yep. But
I mean, one of the most.
She doesn't actually say that.
One of the most famous ones is Nelson Mandela's death. That's where this whole thing came from. Many believe Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s, which I thought I had remembered as well. He was released in 1990 and died in 2013. Man, I could have sworn he died in prison
That's
in
a
the
big
80s.
difference.
The Berenstain versus the Berenstain Bears. Man, that was one that got me. Looney Tunes versus Looney. Oh, crap.
Also,
oh, man, that I got it. Looney Tunes versus, Looney Tunes versus Looney Toons. I remember Looney Tunes too. Not Looney
that is crazy.
Tuns. It wasn't that. It wasn't Looney Tuns.
It was TOO.
Yes, it was.
No,
Hold on. That's the one that's wrong. That's the one that's wrong.
What?
What? That's crazy. And then Mirror Mirror on the Wall definitely happened. Way. I swear.
No, it's just Magic Mirror on the Wall.
Here's another one. The Monopoly Man. He wears a monocle. Yes, he had a monocle on.
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't. He never had one, apparently.
Dude,
hold on.
There's no way.
There's no way. Febreze versus Febreze with one E versus Febreze. It has two E's.
It does have two E's.
No, it's just one. My God.
No.
The Fruit of the Loom. No way. The Fruit of the Loom logo includes a cornucopia. Yes, it did at one point. I was there. I remember that. I remember it. You can't tell me that the cornucopia was not there. I remember the cornucopia it went to the right and it came down like this, and there was fruit everywhere coming out of it. Apparently, it never had a cornucopia. That's crazy.
We're living in a different timeline right now because all those are vivid memories. Like, to a T, I remember them exactly.
What does Kit Kat have a dash or not have a dash?
No.
All right, that's real.
Okay, golly. I was about to say.
Does Pikachu's tail have a black tip at the end? Or is it solid yellow?
Black tip.
Solid yellow.
I'm just not gonna try anymore.
I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna ask just for a couple more. What? We are the champions. And the song ends with of the world. Right?
Yeah. Supposedly.
No, it doesn't. It just
What does it end with?
In the recorded version, it ends abruptly without of the world.
But that was added in after the fact, right?
No, it was sung in some live performances. That's probably why people remember it. Mr. Rogers' theme song, It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Reality, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood.
Whoa.
Was it Sex in the City or Sex in the City?
I want to say in
That's the wrong one.
or and. Dude, I don't know. Evidently, everything is
Movie
just.
quotes. Life is like a box of chocolates.
Is that not
No,
real?
what? It's life was like a box of chocolates. What?
Dude,
Does Tom Cruise wear sunglasses in the scene in Risky Business where he slides across the floor?
I've never seen Risky Business.
Really horrible movie. Like, in terms of the concept of Risky Business, you want to know what it was?
What?
Okay, so Risky Business was about they were all getting out of high school and going to college, and he had not gotten into college and didn't want to tell his parents, or he was applying to go to Harvard, I believe it was, and he either didn't have the money or didn't have the acceptance. I think it was both, and his parents were out of town, so he turns his house into a brothel where people are coming over and sleeping with women, a bunch of them, like a prostitution place, as a high schooler. And then the guy from Harvard or the college comes over and he like gets him laid, and that's what gets him to let him into the college, and that's the end of the movie. That's what Risky Business was. It was a high school, an
Calculated.
18-year-old started a prostitution ring, and then he got a married college official to sleep with one of the prostitutes, and he was really happy about it, so he let him into college.
I bet he got a degree in entrepreneurship.
Man. Double stuff Oreo. No fucking I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. Double stuff Oreo has 2 F's. But apparently it only has 1. What?
What? Now this isn't just making any sense. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
All right, I'm gonna. These are the last few. Cheez-Its. It's just Cheez-It.
What about it? No, it's not. Are you serious?
My God.
We've been lied to.
What? Does Skechers not have a T in it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so that's I remember it with a T.
All right,
Northeast
we'll do one
of
more.
Australia. It's south. Okay, the thinker statue. Fist to forehead. Fist to the back of chin. Henry the something portrait holding a turkey leg. No such portrait exists.
Wow. Yeah, that's a little taste of the Mandela effect, audience. If you were following along with that.
That was fun.
Stuff that you would normally think would have been historically accurate in some instances
One more.
isn't necessarily true. One more.
What do you think E.T. says when he's talking about calling home?
Phone home.
He says home phone.
What? Why are we all saying phone home?
Everyone remembers E.T. phone home. He says home phone. What? I think reality's fake. I'm gonna go cash in all. I'm gonna go take all my savings and buy whatever I want, and then just not care about it and do whatever I want, because reality doesn't even exist.
E.T. home phone.
He doesn't even say E.T. Or maybe it's no, it just says home phone.
Dude. Okay, this is mind bending a little aggressively. This right here, the alternate timeline. What if by us merging or like going through that experiment with the Hadron Collider, back in, what was it, 2008, 2012,
Mm-hmm.
where we merged with another reality and that became more prevalent. What if that mixes into the fact that supposedly with scientists, and this is becoming more of a thing, that scientists are admitting that aliens could contact Earth by 2029?
Yeah, I don't get why 2029 is like the what? What by hold on. Let's
Yeah,
look that up. I don't because that's it's
it's
like
super strange.
it
So
might happen in 2029. We don't know. I mean, we guess that
yeah,
their technology might be
but
advanced enough by then. But you have anything else on
it's
it?
super strange. But maybe by then we'll have fully completed the merge with this alternate reality and aliens are paying attention to that. And then they're
Maybe
like,
that's
"Oh,
where it's
once it's
coming
complete
from.
in 2029,
Maybe that's where it's coming from.
we will make our appearance
No, maybe
once
the
it's fully
appearance of
complete."
the aliens is coming from the fact that it did happen and we're merging with their reality.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but it won't become fully merged until 2029, and once that happens, then they'll make their presence known.
All right, we're about to find out.
So, ooh, this is really interesting. So, regarding the whole 2029 incident,
Hold on.
so we
Gone.
sent a signal real quick.
This
We
I was
sent a
going to say
signal
it, but
in
you're going to say it.
2002.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it pulled up already. So we sent a signal to Pioneer 10 in 2002, which hit a white dwarf that is 27 light years away. And a response could theoretically return from said white dwarf by 2029. However, it's saying this hinges on the chance that an advanced civilization detects and replies to these signals. Researchers admit the odds are slim, as it requires both habitable planets and precise monitoring. Well, no duh for one. But I'm just like, why? Why is it 2029? Are they hinging their entire argument based off the fact that we sent a signal to Pioneer 10 in 2002? And that's what we're hinging on, aliens to like exist in Pioneer 10 in order to communicate back with us? Like, I don't know.
Well, exist in the solar system that it would hit. Um, in particular, transmission sent to Pioneer 10 in 2002 is believed to have reached a white. Yeah, like you said. So it's 27 years ago, right? I don't know. Can't do math.
Yep.
Um,
2029 will be 27 years ago.
so yeah, either way, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that we would get that lucky as to point it at the white dwarf that has life. I mean, unless life is a lot more abundant than we think.
Yeah.
One of the common theories is that we're in some type of essentially planetary lockdown until our civilization can prove it can get to a certain point, and then we'll be kind of entered into the, you know, the universe club.
Yeah. Well, because right now, like referring to what is it, the Kardashev scale, you have tier one, tier two, tier three
I'm not a fan of
civilizations.
the Kardashev
We're
scale
like
at
at
all.
0.7. Yeah. I mean, for per that at least, the argument is we're not even at a level or a tier one. We're at like 0.75.
I
Like
think
we're advanced, but explanation. Do you want to explain tier one, tier two, tier three to the audience in case they don't know?
so. The Kardashev scale is essentially measuring how much energy any civilization can harness. And a tier one Kardashev scale and a civilization would be able to harness all of the energy on their home planet. That means all the energy that's produced by the uh, core of the planet, the volcanoes, the hurricanes, all the energy the planet can actually produce, somehow managing that or utilizing that in a way that it could power or be put in one direction. That would be a tier one Kardashev scale. And all of these are measured by different levels of energy occupation. So the next one would be if a type two Kardashev civilization would be able to harness all of the energy from our home star. And what that would look like is if you put a bunch of mirrors around the sun or a star and we're able to take all that energy and utilize it. And then a type 3 Kardashev scale civilization would be able to harness all the stars of, I believe It's not the solar system
galaxy.
yet. Yeah, no, it's solar system.
Galaxy.
Is it? The galaxy?
Yeah. Type 3 is civilization that's able to capture all the energy emitted by its galaxy and every object within it. So basically you get to have free play.
And that would
Unlock, like
be
100% unlock mode.
the what it would take to get you to travel to other galaxies in terms of an energy,
Interstellar travel. Yeah.
But I'm not a fan of the Kardashev scale because it assumes that the energy is the main driver of exploration. We have already proven that you can, that wormholes are possible, and that being able to traverse them is, and it maybe we haven't proven it. I don't want to overspeak, but I'm pretty sure we've gotten pretty dang close to proving it. But that wormholes are possible, and it's more of an engineering problem now than it is anything else. We just don't have the energy capacity to create one. But that does not mean that, and that kind of sounds like it flips itself on its head. Obviously, we'd need to harness a lot of energy, but the answer to that is negative energy, which is what you would need to be able to essentially being able to tap into the energy that exists and connects everything in the universe, and being able to pull from that would be almost like an infinite source of energy that we'd be able to pull from to create a black hole. And we have recently gotten even closer. And another thing I was listening about on the way to that down south was the fact that we had performed an experiment that created the conditions that would need to be there to create negative energy. So we're like one step closer to finding negative energy and tapping into that actual field. So I guess what I was saying is that there's other ways in terms of tapping into something like negative energy that we think are possible versus needing to you harness the energy of stars, like, because one of the problems with the Kardashev scale is that it would take almost more energy than the star could produce to create the Kardashev object that would harness all the energy. And then if you expanded that across a galaxy, like the amount of materials that is would make the galaxy obsolete anyways.
Right.
So,
which we need to go via renewable energy, not fossil fuels, Keegan. Come on.
you know what? I think electricity is going to replace gas by 2027. Totally. I don't think you're going to be able to power a car with gas in 2027. I'm kidding. You sure about that?
But I was sure about that. But I will say, kind of on that note, if
The
you've
world is
listened
also
to
going
one
to
of the
end
more
in a
recent
couple of
episodes,
years, according to AOC. So,
per the, oh, we should definitely listen to her. She
yes.
knows.
All right, but keep on going. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, her and Greta Thunberg or whatever her name is.
That autistic
Thornburg.
Netherlands person.
But
she is. I'm not saying anything that's not true. She's on the spectrum. We're all on the spectrum. She's just further.
Yep.
Hold on. I heard this. I gotta say this. Hold on, real quick. I gotta say this. So I heard this the other day. So implying that there's a spectrum. So like, let's say the spectrum of gay versus straight. Let's say there's a spectrum. That implies that there is a gayest person out there and there is a least gay person out there. That implies that there is one person on the furthest side of each part of the spectrum that are so like, what would that look like? The gayest person.
We need to find them and have them debate each other.
And the same would exist with autism, which is not anything to, it's not, it would exist. Okay. I'm not gonna talk about it.
It would.
There would be a most autistic and a least autistic person.
We'll digress on that one.
But I think Elon Musk is kind of like pretty autistic, but also super smart.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Theo Von is too, I would argue.
We're all on the spectrum.
But just a little bit. But what I was going to say real quick, last kind of thing to wrap up this little segment. Steve Quast on the Sean Ryan show, former Air Force guy. Do you remember we talked about think about him a
Yeah,
little bit, but he was saying we're working on, or we have the potential, complete potential, to be able to launch satellites, keep them in orbit, harness power from the sun, and be able to beam down electricity to power everything versus having traditional wall outlets. The normal standard that we go by to function on a day to day basis regarding electricity can be completely transformed, but it won't be, or it's having a hard time because of the monopolies that are in place. You're talking, the top dogs of the top dogs regarding those in charge of oil, gas, electricity. Your conglomerates are in control of what happens advancement wise. And
yeah.
he's saying those guys are the huge barriers to prevent us from being able to do stuff like that. So I thought that was super interesting that we could theoretically beam down electricity from satellites orbiting Earth that we are gaining energy from the sun with to be able to function on a day to day basis.
You know what I've thought about? Like, what if we were like one of those civilizations in like, like Atlantis or something where like it was like a civilization that was their main focus at the top of government was like if they found the best energy to like make sure that gets distributed, the best energy product or something like that, or some way to create energy and sustain whatever, they would distribute that throughout society and try to make themselves last as long as possible. It's like what we live in is like a bunch of really rich companies that will kill anyone that tries to make them go out of business and fight and stifle anything, even if it's the best thing for the people in the world. Whereas, like, we could be like one of those civilizations that's already traveling the stars if we would just work together and just be like, nope, everything that we find out, like, if there really is, reverse engineered gravity propulsion, like that would be, think of what that would do to society if we had gravity propulsion. Think of us being able to get somewhere instantly. Like, like it's
Yep.
it's like, but no, versus that, the oil and gas companies are going to stay in business. They're never going to let anything like that be pushed into mainstream technology, and they'll kill anyone that threatens their business interests until something catastrophic happens that makes them not be in business. We could be a civilization that has harnessed certain types of energies and really progressed things if we would just work together and like had that. And I really think that that's like in terms of that test of being like a planet or a civilization that deserves to travel the stars and deserves these types of technologies, if that's something that's happening to us or we're being tested for, one of the ways that you'd have to be able to get to that is to be like, no, we're literally all the same species. There's no like we should be focused on advancing everything for everyone.
Oh,
But
for sure. And it's just a dang shame that the greed of a handful of people are screwing over the entire advancement of the human race.
yeah,
Like, think about where we could be. I mean, just think about this. From the time the Wright brothers first developed the airplane, we went from horse to locomotive, which was a huge jump. And then, obviously ships and all that have been a thing. But then, early 1900s, the Wright brothers developed the first airplane. And then within 40 some years, we're flying aircraft in a war. And then 20 years after that, we're landing on the moon. So within about 60, 70 years, look at the giant leap that happened from first developing and figuring out, hey, we can actually fly, to off planet going to a moon. And then from that time till now, realistically, what have we done advancement wise? We've done some stuff, but nothing on that scale and that level of advancement rapid wise, because the longer we have gone on, the more development has happened, the more we have let a few people in power dictate, get super fat and happy when it comes to being flushed with cash and power and greed, that we have allowed them to dictate what happens based upon where we go from here. So if something does not change regarding that, power trip, power struggle, greed, and everything, we are not going to get where we want to be in the amount of time that it took us originally to get from the first flying mechanism to landing on the moon.
yeah, we've definitely been stifled. And I really think that it's going to take something. I might have said something like this earlier, but it's going to take something unfortunately catastrophic to change that. I think that whether the industry disruption that would potentially do it is us getting into space in terms of what Elon's doing and potentially needing things for up there, and then things up there being reapplied down here. But I just don't think that has such a long runway in front of it in terms of reverse utilizing some of those things, that it's just it would I'm the worst thing in the world to say, even though I do think it's true, is I think it would take World War III.
I really hope not.
I really
Obviously,
think it would
but
take ripping everything to the ground and letting, like it's so crazy because like in freaking, there's so many movies where that is the like the path of the antagonist, the villain. And The Dark Knight, Ra's al Ghul, what does he want to do? He wants to burn the entire city to the ground so it can restart, because he said
Batman
it's,
Begins.
oh yeah, Batman Begins, my bad. But yeah, and then what does Thanos want to do? Thanos wants to purge half the universe so the universe has an opportunity to essentially be burned down and restart. So many movies, that is the, or so many plots, that is the idea of the antagonist or what's considered to be the villain. But when you think about it and you start to think about what is really ingrained in keeping us from getting to certain places, it's like, what else would allow that to be like fully changed, you know?
Well, yeah, exactly. And then if you kind of think about too, I mean, the Joker in Dark Knight, or just historically as Batman, but I'm referring to Dark Knight.
Yeah.
That Joker wants to, I mean, he's a psycho, but realistically, some of the principles, if you dig deep, kind of make sense. He's wanting to rid higher tiers of government from corruption, from
Of
people that have infiltrated, government, um, criminal justice, whatever it is, to free Gotham of oppression in that sense. Because Joker understands, he understands, and it's really interesting that despite his warped mindset, um, he sees himself as understanding the fundamental, chaos and corruption beneath the general surface of society. Whether that's politics, governor, um, even down to the police level. And he sees that there are certain aspects, like kind of what we've been talking about, how individuals get to certain levels of power and the oppression that's there. And he
well,
sees the need for, those outdated principles in a sense to be purged.
he
And
sees what
that's where he
everyone
kind of goes
sees.
on to,
Is the thing, is he sees what we all see. We all see it. We
right.
just accept it because we're not, we think that tearing it down would be much more of a problem than trying to, because it's like, and it's like this like constant feed of just people going into the machine and being consumed by it. I'm gonna go to Congress and drain the swamp. And it's like, then they become part of the swamp. Then they realize that like,
Yeah.
if you want to do anything in Congress, you got to play the game. Like there's no going in there and making major changes as one person. You can be shut up by your whole party. It's just like
Yeah.
all of this is, but it's, yeah, to your point, it's what the Joker is pointing out, what we all see. He's just taking a very
An
abrasive,
extreme measure.
an extreme way to handle it. Yeah, exactly. And that's like that's what makes him a villain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it makes you question: are his reasons for what he's doing, even though he's going about it the wrong way, wrong? And you have to be like, oh, some of them are not completely wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Essentially, we're the
So
Joker.
it's an interesting perspective.
The Joker is just the
Thought of it.
manifestation of everything that we already want and see.
Yeah. In not a psychotic way.
No,
Or
he's the
like not an
manifestation
extreme
of it,
way in a sense of like,
but he's also a manifestation of it based on the flaws of society in terms of like, let's say like if you were
correct.
a really overweight person and you wanted to be like a karate, guru or something like that. you'd never be able to do it at that point. You've got a lot of things that are going wrong, or maybe not good, or in the right direction to be able to be in that position. So your manifestation of that isn't going to be, where you want it to be. It's going to be something that compromises, something that cuts corners, something that, allows you to get to the goal without having to do all the work behind it. And that's what the Joker is the real manifestation of, is like taking the shortcuts to it versus like doing it through actual change. He's doing it through physical force.
Yeah. It's like the juxtaposition.
We're like philosophers
of that manifested in a human. Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
It is.
It's it's when you sit there and you're honest with yourself, and you realistically look at that concept of the Joker and what ultimately he is communicating, regardless of however he goes about it, ask yourself, maybe he wasn't so crazy.
No, I don't think he was. I mean, I think he was crazy in application, not crazy in thought.
That's what I mean. Like, regardless of how he carried things out, his thought process and ideology, ultimately, he wanted to see reform.
You want to know something crazy?
And change. What's that?
Alfred essentially raised Bruce, right?
Yes.
Wrong. Many assume that Alfred Pennyworth raised Bruce Wayne from childhood. In the original comics, Alfred was introduced after Batman had already begun his vigilante career. The idea of Alfred as Bruce's surrogate father became popularized in later adaptations, influencing collective memory. That was part of the Mandela effect, but actually it kind of says right there that, because as we were talking, I was like, are there any Mandela effects about Batman?
Wow. Well, that's one.
But I mean, all this,
I wasn't super well versed in the original Batman stuff.
But it also says says the idea of Alfred as Bruce's surrogate father became popularized in later adaptions. So I mean, that is essentially the reason why
counts.
people that has no Mandela effect, because people have a reason to believe that because it was actually there. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha, Mandela effect. You didn't get us that time.
You're not getting us. You're not getting us.
You're a silly goose now. Go back to the pond.
Take it right back to the pond.
Right back
but
to
guys,
the pond.
I think
we'll take it there for you. But
it's a Wednesday night for us, and
it is.
We're big boys. We put our big boy pants on.
It felt.
We got to get up in the morning and work.
Big boy pants on.
Yep.
Yes, sir. We're glad to be. I hate saying like we're glad to be back. It's not like we went anywhere. We're still here.
I'm always glad
but it does feel good to bring this episode to your beautiful, beautiful ears, audience.
Y'all are the real goat. Y'all are the real goat. But either way, we love you. We hope you have a great night. Leave a comment, interact with the podcast. I just froze, didn't I? Did I freeze? Oh, no, I didn't freeze. I'm good.
Do it. Nope. Share it. Nope, you're good. Share, follow, like, comment, all the above.
Yep.
We would appreciate it.
Peace out, home skillets. We out with this one.
Catch you guys on episode 31.
See ya.